Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, the Knife Raven here, back again with another video. And in today's video, I'll be taking a look at what is perhaps the most gargantuan and terrifying knife I have ever seen. Now, I'm speaking quietly as to not anger this creature, as it is very dangerous when provoked. Now, this very terrifying creature you see before you is known as the Opinel No.2. And I have been daring enough to discuss this beast once before, and it turned out fairly poorly for me. And today I'm going to try my luck again, and, well, without further ado, let me have a look at this very scary knife, and I will show it to you at a distance from where you will not be harmed by it. Of course, you know I am just kidding, as this knife is, well, this is a very strange little knife, heavy emphasis on little, and I probably should be talking quietly, not to anger it, but as to not scare it. This is what I like to call the colibri of knives, and it is very small. This knife, which is the smallest of Opinel's current lineup, is, I believe, about, I think it's under 4 inches overall length, maybe even closer to 3. Here. Your handle length is just over 1 3/4 inches, and your blade length comes in at just around a little under 1.5. So this is a very small little blade. The overall length is just barely over 3 inches. So this is probably one of the few knives that you're actually allowed to carry in the UK. I know, exciting. And as with all Opinel knives, it is of very nice quality, despite being the size of a cricket. And I believe that the knife is practical in some very select uses. Now, of course, it says Opinel Savoie France Carbone, Opinel Carbone, and then just number 2 on the little ring. There is no lock here. Let's say friction folder. Again, with the beechwood handle and the XC90 carbon blade. No blade play. No gaps, obviously. This is not a traditional slip joint. And the blade straightness is fair, although maybe not perfect. And the centering, well, it's a little off to the right, but who cares? Now, this knife came in at around, I believe, $12 Canadian, which is still probably ridiculous to many. But this, again, made in France. It's the smallest knife Opinel makes, and it's really a great novelty. Again, you have a little nail nick, and the blade. The blade is a yataghan style, which we may know as the clip point here in the West. And it's same as Opinel's larger knives. I'll do a couple comparisons with some non-Opinel knives here, just to put into perspective. Here it is with a Old Bear medium in carbon steel and walnut. Here it is with an Ottermesser dry Messer, which is a very substantial slip joint. Here it is next to, I'll throw an Arthur Wright in here. Here it is next to an Arthur Wright Barlow, which is, again, in and of itself, not a particularly large knife. And, oh, what the heck, I'll throw one more in. Here it is next to the GEC 68, I believe. Yeah, GEC number 68 White Owl. So there you go. These are all very small knives, all things considered, except maybe for the 3 rivet and the Old Bear. And yet they completely dwarf this little knife. Now, again, this isn't going to be a particularly long video. There's not much to say about it. I can safely tell you that it is not an EDC knife. It's not good for food prep. It is not good for table use. It is not good for self-defense. Unless, of course, you have a particularly arrogant beetle, at which point maybe this would help, but even then. And I think really the only true use for this would be to open very small packages and trim a thread off of your coat in an environment where knives are almost completely not restricted, but very heavily disliked. So someplace that a knife would definitely be considered out of place and might scare people, this is probably the only time where you'd really want the Opinel No.2, because no matter where you are, unless you're in an airport, because it's an airport, this should be friendly enough for almost any environment you can imagine. And it does that well, I suppose. It's very friendly, it's not scary. It's a great novelty collector's item, but aside from that, this is completely useless as an everyday carry. You don't have a lock on the blade. The blade is very thin, naturally. And while, yes, it's made of a nice steel, you're not going to be doing any heavy cutting tasks with this. So if you're looking for a small novelty knife, maybe to put on a keychain, I'd recommend a Victorinox Classic or a Manager or Mini Champ. This I would definitely recommend only to collectors who just want something that's fun and silly, just to take out at, say, I don't know, a blade show, and no, that's not a knife, this is a knife. But it's certainly a nice collector's piece, but there's no way anyone is going to EDC this as their main knife, and if they do, you know what? More respect to you. You're the kind of person who'd main the Colibri in Battlefield 1, and I respect those people just as much. So, again, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Opinel No.2 pocket knife, fifth pocket knife, a knife you can give to your cat. I don't know. It's a bit strange, to say the least. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been the Opinel No.2, and this is the Knife Raven, as always, signing off. Goodbye.